Geri Halliwell is a renowned singer, writer, producer, and actress who is widely recognized for her iconic place in British pop culture as an original member of the record-breaking girl group called
Spice Girls!
You might be familiar with that group. As Ginger Spice, she played a formative role in their band as they became one of the biggest selling girl groups of all time. She is the successful author of the Eugenia Lavender book series and the autobiography, If Only. She continues to work with the Royal Commonwealth to promote prospects through literacy to Commonwealth citizens, and is to be awarded an honorary doctorate of letters at Sheffield Hallam University this autumn. You know, this was written by a Brit because it says autumn and not fall. She is also a supporter of animals and is an ambassador of the London Zoo, and tonight she is here to promote her new book, Rosie Frost and the Falcon Queen. Please welcome Geri Halliwell.
I love you!
I think they like you.
Geri!
Sort of
So nice.
Sort of
Lovely to see you all. Thank you so much.
And thank you for visiting us. It's so nice to see you in person.
It's such a warm welcome that you've made. It just feels like my living room back at, Thank you so much.
Chicago loves you!
And I love Chicago. I think it's the people that make a town, though. When you say or a city, you know, it's the people, so good vibes.
Yeah. But you're an author. You've written this a fantastic new book for kids. I kind of want to talk to you about it. Is that right?
Yeah.
All right, so Rosie Frost. Where did this book come from? Why did you make it? Why did you write it?
I think it's with a baby in it. You know, it's so nice to see so many different faces, and I think good stories are for everyone, you know, whatever your age. And I just felt, and I love stories that are driven by character. Because if I don't care about the character, who cares whether they live or die when they go up the mountain or whatever? It's a character that I connect with. And a good character is timeless, ageless, and I just felt like, you know what, if I think about the world we are today, I feel like the world needs a new hero. And someone that's a real hero is vulnerable and is sometimes scared and is not airbrushed, you know, into some, is the alpha one. And that's relatable, that's courage, and that's a hero to me. And so that I started with that. And I'm a curious person, and I, you know, all different things, whether it's history, conservation, science, the world we live in, and that started to inspire me as well. And about relationships. And so I started, now the time it's got here, it's 9 years ago. But I embarked on, she came to me, actually, for any real bookies out there, what happened was that I'd written this Eugenia Lavender, that was many years ago, that's when I was much younger. And I thought, I really want to go older, you know, and then I found an agent, and it's Christopher Little, and he discovered Harry Potter, so you know who that is. And he said to me, and so he said, yeah, I'll be your agent. And I said, oh, shall I just age Eugenia up? And he said, no, start again. So I was like, okay. So I just started again, and unfortunately he's passed away now. That's how long this book has taken. And so I just felt, I just never let her go. She just grew and grew, all the world and the friends in it. And although one might call it, you know, define it into a certain age group, I actually, you know, plan for her to be for everyone. You know, adults can read her, you know, whether you're 9 or 90, it doesn't matter, it's for you, anyone with a heartbeat.
And have you always been a writer? Like, were you writing as a kid?
I always loved books, first and foremost, because my mum, she was out we didn't have a lot of money when we were growing up, and so, you know, if other people went on holiday, or you say vacation, I'd go to the library and get a book out and just sit under the tree, and I'd get transported to different lands or different countries through a book. And then also, if I ever felt lonely, I could find comfort in a character. That was the first thing. And then I started writing. And, you know, I think I was in middle grade, I started writing. It's middle grade, around 9, 10, yeah, around that, yeah. And then, you know, I always loved it. And then before I went into music, I was studying theatre and English literature, like Sons and Lovers, D.H. Lawrence, Hamlet. And then I was doing really well. And I really liked the power of word. I felt, you know, obviously you know me as, you know, through music, but the truth is, you know, I'm no Mariah Carey but she's an amazing songwriter. But I felt confident in the writing process. I liked that, and I felt confident, and I like the power of words and the connection. And so for me, songwriting was like, it's almost like a cappuccino shot of emotion. So you've got that amount of time. But with a book, you know, we're going to go on an adventure together, and I'm going to endeavour to hold you and connect with you. It's just a different medium, the same feeling, but a different medium. But I always loved writing.
But you mentioned your music, and actually this book kind of combines both your music and your writing, because you wrote songs for this. There's a little QR code in the back of the book that you can follow, and it takes you to
I love music, and I just think I want basically Rosie Frost. You know, the world is immersive. You know, it's Bloodstone Island, and it's going to take you somewhere. And I feel music always helps you with that narration and that connection. So you know, and I've never stopped writing music the whole time. So I thought, you know, why not bring that to the adventure as well?
And very few authors write music to go with their books. So.
Well, I got the idea actually. Do you know who Julia Donaldson is?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Ruffalo.
So, yeah. So I've got a 6-year-old son, and I always do the bedtime story, and then you do the QR. So you've got the QR code, but it's like a nursery rhyme. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was thinking, why can't that be for grown-ups? You know, why can't we do it? It's just another way to connect with you. And then I thought, you know, with Rosie Frost, it's our, you know, it's our club, it's our world that we get to share it together.
Well, what's so cool though is, like, I've seen authors do like QR codes and then here's the playlist. Like they'll do like a Spotify playlist to go with the book, but you actually wrote original music to go with the book, so that's what's so cool about it. So let's just get into your writing itself. So how do you write? Are you the kind of person who like sits down and you're like, I'm going to write an outline and I'm going to say every single plot point that happens every single step around the way, or do you pants it? Like, is it a seat of your pants thing where you're just like, I'm just going to sit down and see what comes out?
I'm always character-led first, right? As I say, sometimes. So character has stayed the same. The characters in the book have stayed the same, right? But I would say, you know, the reason why it took me so long, it was a baptism of fire. I've written obviously short stories before, but to do a big novel, oh my God, the discipline of it.
Yeah.
And I did originally write like by the seat of your pants, as you said. I was just like, and it's a wonderful thing because you'd never know what's going to happen. But then I was struggling, and I met this writer called William Boyd. Now, if any of you might know him, he wrote Any Human Heart. He's like the Beethoven maestro of, he's amazing, this guy. And I met him, this sounds name droppy, so forgive me. I met him at Buckingham Palace on this literacy. I was standing there, and it was advocating literacy for the Commonwealth. And there was nice gentleman there, and I was like, hi, and he said he was with Penguin, and I was like, oh, that's nice. And I'd already read his book, but I didn't realise it was him. And then when he said Penguin, I went, oh, would you read my manuscript, please? And then it was like giving Humpty Dumpty to Beethoven. So I went, yeah. And he went, okay, and then he read it, and he said, okay, what you, I said, I'm really struggling. He said, rewrite the whole thing, but this time, do it in the third person and the past tense. Because when you write it in the first person, you're sort of backed into a corner, and I didn't know this. And so I did that, and it just really frees you up. So that was probably the best advice I got in the storytelling. So I was learning as I went. So originally it was like, you know, I didn't, but then, and so I had to go back and operate on a body. It was almost repairing it, yeah. Which was really, I think it's really difficult to do it that way. But you said about structure. I don't think there's a right way to do it. Like the second book I'm doing that comes next, I've done the structure first. It sort of takes longer to set up, yeah. But then you still have a bit of freedom. So, you know, but
I have to compliment
boundaries.
I mean, some people, if you gave a manuscript and they're like, okay, this is great, rewrite the whole thing, they'd be like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But you actually did it. You actually went back.
Yeah. I think it just, I think if I felt compelled to bring Rosie to the world. I felt like she needs, like the world needs her. I was going on my instinct, and it sort of showed me. I was like, no, I know I'm not perfect at doing this, but I was just instinctively that I feel like the world needs a new hero, and the other characters in with her, you know. The girls sometimes save the boys, but the boys are strong, but they sometimes cry. You know, those characters that you can relate to, they're modern day heroes.
Well, they're modern day heroes, but you also have historical figures in the book, and some that are kind of famous these days, yeah. Particularly when we think of Six the Musical. So, how did that work, putting in actual historical figures in your realistic, well, fantasy?
Yeah, so there is history involved, and a lot of it is true. And there's certain facts in it, maybe I might turn the volume up a little bit, but a lot of it is true. So it's based on Bloodstone Island. Bloodstone Island, imagine Jurassic Park, but instead of dinosaurs, it's endangered animals. Right? And there is a place that exists like that, and it's in its own hemisphere. It's amazing, it's on the Atlantic. And I thought, well, the school needs a DNA, and what first came to mind was Queen Elizabeth I. You think, okay, she's full of girl power, she did it, amazing, right? And then I thought, well, you know, what about her mother and Anne Boleyn? And the first thing, someone in publishing said to me, oh no, don't go near here, no one likes her. And I was like, really? And so the more I sort of unpacked her, I felt terrible for her. And actually what I discovered was just, you know, a really bright woman that actually did the best she could and then got executed by some horrible gits that didn't like her, basically. And can you imagine, so you're a mother and you've got a 3-year-old little girl and you know you're going to be executed. That's one thing. And the other thing is, imagine if you're that little girl and you know that your dad had your mother's head chopped off, right? So that's 500 years ago. So when Queen Elizabeth I grows up, she's like, okay, I'm queen now, so I'm going to build a school. Now, you all want me to get married? I don't think so, right, after what I've seen. But instead, my heirs are going to be the students, the polymaths at this school, their ideas. That's what my legacy is going to be. So she built a school in honour of her mother, okay? All the DNA of Anne Boleyn, which is about reform, creativity, and she was ahead of the time, and she was just, you know, a lot of people were threatened by her. Anyway, so that was 500 years ago. Cut to 500 years later, Rosie Frost gets sent there, and she doesn't know why. She's orphaned, and she's sent to this school full of really smart kids, and the DNA of the school has got all that heritage.
Well, and it's on this island, as you say, with all these endangered animals. And you have a thing for animals, as I understand it. So how did you work that in? Like, was that always the plan from the start to bring the animal fact? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's funny. I think we take the world in. Everything is copy. Everything we see in what we do is copy. It's like there in our memory banks, or it's prologue, you know. And we bounce, you know, from it into something. And you know, I've always loved going to like London Zoo, particularly, and zoos. They can be brilliant for conservation. For example, London Zoo. So David Attenborough is patron there, and as I am, and you've got animals there that don't exist anywhere else in the world. You know, they're extinct. That's it, game over. But there, they exist. They're like this Socorro dove that's there, and it's like, oh my God. So you see the beauty of them. Also, Komodo dragons are there. They're the one that you saw in James Bond, and so that it's a beautiful thing. So I've always, even when I was a little girl, I just loved animals because they're honest. You know, when you get back home from work, your dog or your cat just loves you. They don't give a shit. So it's like,
Woo!
get the swear pops out.
they're all terribly offended.
Yeah. And I actually did have one with my 6-year-old daughter. The only time I said, look, if mummy swears, I was away, I said, I'll give you $1. Right, and I was tired a lot. It's a lazy adjective, isn't it? And we went home, and she went home with about $40 in the bag.
Well, that actually is a question. So you have 3 kids. One of them is 9 years old, I believe. Yes. 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 And so kind of the perfect age for the. So has she read the book? Have all the people in your family read the book?
Well, they are. I think any age is right for it, and I think our family are worse critics. But my husband, I mean, my children have been very, very supportive and have liked it, and they've loved it. But you know what they are like with their mums, they just want their mums to be their mums. But Bluebell actually gave me some, like, a bit of humour that's in the book. My oldest daughter, she gave me some jokes, and I was sort of going to her and saying, what would you say when, you know, trying to get some cool tones from it. Cool, Mum, really? So my husband, he's, I don't know if any of you know me and seen him in the public eye, but he's a good guy, but he's just, you know, he doesn't really read books, and, do you know what I mean, he doesn't eat books like me, and he's not into, maybe once a year he might take an autobiography, and if you're lucky, and he kept on seeing me wander off, like, for hours. I'd go into this shed, and he'd be like, oh my God, and then I'd go, can I read a bit to you? And he'd go, I'll wait till it's published, right? I was like, okay, supportive. Anyway, so finally, this was a few weeks ago, so he's going off on his travels, going on a plane, and I said, it's out, do you know what I mean? Okay, you can have one of the first copies. And then the first thing he takes it on the plane with him, and he rings me, and he says, the first thing he says, and anyone with a partner might connect with this, with what partners are like, he went, oh, it's so much better than I thought it was going to be. then like a couple of days later he went, do you know what, I finished it, I couldn't put it down. He said, I just wanted to know what happened next. And I was like, my work is done.
Woo!
And what about your kids?
Yes, I mean, they are our biggest critics, and Monty's not quite there yet, but my daughters, they love it, so.
Monty's the youngest.
Yeah, he's 6, he's more into building Titanic. Yeah, he likes reading Lego instructions.
And your eldest, right?
Yes, so that's good.
Now, when you're creating the characters for the book, do you base them on real people, or do they come entirely out of your head?
I do sort of take bits of people. It's like being a chef. And you sort of like, I take that person with that person and then cook them up together. Like one of my daughter's friends, she has a Muslim background, but she loves wrestling. So I've used a little bit of her in Bina, if any of you've looked at her, that's a real person. But then I use the uptightness of somebody else and sort of cooked it up together. And you'll find like Hemlock, if you've got to him, if you've met him, like he's definitely someone out there. I wonder. Yeah, and then as Rosie, I can't help putting a little bit of myself in there. But sometimes you write things in stories, and after I've done it, I've gone, oh my God, I've put myself into that bit. The opening chapter, which I wrote last, the editor said to me, we need to go back before we get to the island and to place her what her life was like before. And so I wrote that scene of her in the school, and then after it was like I sort of handed it in back to her, and then after I'd done it, I went, oh my God, I've just written what happened to me when my father died. Which, you know, I just sort of used it a little bit. It's not quite the same, but I've used it, that pain of, because that's another thing that's embedded in the story. If for those, you know what it's about, it is a fast-paced adventure, but just a little bit of it, and this I think is a modern-day hero, is you feel her pain. You know how millennials, they love sharing about what's going on? It's a bit of that, you know, and so, you know, she is grieving and she's angry, and she puts it in she does these letters to her mother, sort of like a diary. So I used a little bit of that, because I thought, actually, if anyone's experienced grief, you know, it's a really, I think in Western society more than the East, I've noticed we're all a little bit awkward about it, you know, and we don't want to embarrass anybody, I think, about our feelings. So I thought, actually, can we just subtly put it in there?
Yeah. And so I am going to ask questions that the audience gave to me. But before I do, just one last question. So you alluded a little earlier to a sequel. Is there a sequel in the works?
Yeah, my ambition is for it to be a trilogy. Make God laugh is telling me your plans. But, so I have written number 2. I've done the first edit. I thought I'd better, you know, crack on with this one. So I have just finished the first edit. I've handed it back and I've just got some notes. So, yeah.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I had other questions from other people who are asking as well.
Good.
So these are 2 questions. I chose this one because you can see they were very careful how they wrote it. It's just a lot of cross-outs here. And it actually relates to this one too, so I'm going to put these 2 together. Okay, the first one says, Geri, I'm a high school English teacher.
Yeah.
What book from your youth changed you the most? That's from Jeff from Atlanta. And then someone else asked, who was your favorite author as a kid? So I'm going to put those 2 together.
Okay.
So, yeah.
His name's Jeff.
Jeff from Atlanta.
Jeff. Is he here?
Yes, he's right here.
Hi, Jeff. Hi. Do you know what? The name Jeff. Okay. When I was pregnant, we used to call the baby Jeff. Anyway, Jeff, and it's the name of my agent as well. Anyway, so it's a good name. Okay, Jeff. Yeah. And also, my mother, she used to say to me, because she's Spanish, she'd say, "Why don't you be a teacher? Get a proper job." She'd like Jeff. So, what's my
favorite book from your youth and your favorite author?
There's all sorts of books that have influenced me, I would say, and there's certain ones they leave sort of an impression on your heart, and I would say that's timeless, and that would be The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. You know, when you just go through the wardrobe, you're transported to somewhat to Narnia, and all that. And I always like this sort of combat of good and evil. You know, the challenging within yourself, you know, Edmund and, because there's an Edmund in all of us that just wants to
you know, just wants to eat, what was it?
Turkish delight.
Turkish delight. That's simple. I just think yeah, but it's not about the Turkish. Everyone's got a Turkish delight, whatever it is. It's quite interesting. That stayed with me. Enid Blyton, which is very, very English, the naughtiest little girl at school, she had a trunk. I was really little, but then when I was older, you know, I'd read Jackie Collins, so it's a bit rude.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But one thing that I would say is I try never to underestimate how smart kids are. You know, they're so much. Like my daughter, when she was about 10, she read my favourite book, is The Book Thief.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that's amazing.
Marcus.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's probably my favourite book.
Oh,
yeah, it's great.
I have this editor. All right. Next question for you. And Enid Blyton never took off in America. I don't know why, but all very popular, not popular in America. All right, this one is, you've said you're a history buff. Any particular events provide inspiration for your work? That's from Alicia.
Well, I think if anybody looks at the Tudors, I mean, it's so dramatic and inflammatory in so many ways. You're like, really? Did that really happen? So, I mean, Rosie Frost, although it's set in modern times, it really does reflect back. If you want a little bit of history, it's just leaning it in there. Anne Boleyn, she does, you know, the ghost of Anne Boleyn comes into the story. And just looking at that, but to remind, do you know what, a question that I asked myself, who writes history? I read that and I thought, that's true. Who wrote that? Who recorded those events, that version of that person? I thought that's a really interesting question to ask. And then reminding myself that actually all these people in history that we read about, that you forget they're human. You know, that's a human being, just, you know, a woman of 30. And then just looking at Queen Elizabeth I, what she had to do in her time. She was 26 years old and become, you know, a queen of England, and she became and built this, you know, amazing. She was such a strong queen and so respected and revered of her time. You just think, wow, that's inspiring. But what happened was, which we might find interesting, so when Anne Boleyn, she knew she was going to die, she left her daughter a rule book with 4 rules in it.
I was going to ask you, because don't those 4 rules appear in the book?
Yes.
What are the 4 rules?
Okay, so Falcon, so that everyone called Anne Boleyn the Falcon Queen, okay? And she left these Falcon Queen rules for her daughter. It's a bit like going, I'm not going to be here, but here's 4 rules to help you get by. And these 4 rules then are given to Rosie Frost. But these 4 rules, I believe anyone could use these 4 rules. Okay, so I'll share the 4 rules. Yeah. Okay. So the first rule is have courage. Take the chance you fear the most. And that's, you know, I'm always a little bit, always gonna be all right, just go for it anyway. Number 2 is united we stand, divided we fall. So, you know, when I'm up against something, when I feel, you know, bullied, or, you know, I've got to go for something, it's not just resting on my power, it's, you know, together we do it. And then the third rule is never give up. Be the light, serve your kingdom, you'll win your fight. So it's kind of saying, actually, when I'm here, and I'm sometimes think, oh God, you know, maybe I'm a bit tired or I'm a bit scared, but if I know that I'm being of service, be the light, serve you, then it becomes, it's like a superpower. Because then that way, you might think something of me that I don't like, but actually it's not about me. And then suddenly you become a bit more forthright in your direction. It's really helpful. And then the 4th rule is probably one that we can all do with, which is to thine own self be true. That's Shakespeare. If you like not these rules, make up your own. And I think that's quite useful, just be in your own lane. There's no right way to do it. And I think in the world that we live in, where, you know, we can't change whether that person likes us, what the weather's going to be, whether we get the job, or blah, blah, blah. But if I can have self-confidence, if I can have good self-worth, that's such a good ammunition, or it's fortifying. And I think those 4 rules help you do that.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Woo!
This one actually we already answered. This was from Carl asking, have you begun writing your next book?
Yes.
Or do you have an idea in your mind for a follow-up? Yeah, you already covered that one, yeah.
Someone dies.
Would you want your book to be a movie adaptation? And if so, who would play Rosie? That's from Bob.
Yes. Yes. And then I see the person that plays Rosie would be probably some, a person that was not famous.
An unknown.
Unknown. I think that's, but I'd see like someone a bit like either, let me think, have you seen Stranger Things?
Yes.
So I think her name is Max Sadie.
Oh, Max.
Yeah, but she's going to be a younger her.
No, let's just get
Max. I think she's amazing. That's how I'd see her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or you go like, yes, to find, and they don't have to be the loudest person in the room to be the strongest. And then you look back at Lindsay Lohan or Drew Barrymore when they were younger, and they just, what I like about them, none of them are perfect.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You feel like, yeah, I would want you on my team.
Yeah, they were relatable.
Relatable, I think it's important.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. I still think Max is such a good idea.
Max, good, yeah? Max.
Okay, this one comes from Scotty, who wrote Scotty Spice.
Scotty.
Yes, Scotty. Can you share what your inspiration is and anything about your creative writing process?
I've it's changed, and as I've learned different things. One thing it was a comedian, Dawn French. She's really good.
French is awesome.
Yeah, she told me, and she writes books, and she said, Geri, you've got to leave your phone outside of the room.
Oh, that's good.
And because otherwise, suddenly it just pulls you out. It's just an absolute creative killer. So you have to turn off, any emails coming through, so you can just really focus. And then I read this book by Stephen King.
On writing.
Yes, and he said, and I sort of got to this later, but he said go in somewhere like there's no distraction in darkness, which is so you're completely immersive. That is quite interesting. Yeah. What else? I don't think that for me, I'm sort of learning as I go, but I don't have any set rules, but also set times, that discipline.
Yeah. I don't think many people know that Stephen King did one of the best writing books of all time.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
In there, he says, "Kill your darlings."
I don't think he's ever done that. All right, Geri, will you ever gift us with another autobiography? Asks Corey from Canada.
No, Corey. Do you know what? When I think about that autobiography, and it was, I think it was quite refreshing of its time because it was quite honest, which I'm pleased about. But part of me goes, do you know what I mean? That was hopefully like a quarter of a lifetime. And so if it felt okay to do, and if it felt authentic and the right thing to do, but I've got some living to do, yeah, so.
Right. Okay, let's see. This one actually is also from Scotty. Scotty, you wrote too many. That's okay. How difficult has it been for you to make yourself and your family a priority over your career, and what advice do you have to women trying to balance it all like you have? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, I mean, it's, for anyone, I think these days there's so many, I think whether it's men, women, anybody, that we're all trying to find that balance, and, I think we're all learning. And I felt it definitely when in my 30s, thinking, you know, when I had my first child, and I thought, actually, I want to be present, but then equally, I want to be a creative person, you know. So, a present mother, creative, how can I balance that? And so, I was doing, you know, and I still do it. What I like about writing is that you know, you can do it anywhere. So that was brilliant. So as soon as I'd done the school run, I'd run back to the desk. And so that was helpful. And then if I went away now with my husband, I can take my laptop and just ignore anyone, and then I do it then. So it's quite useful. I think that it really suits my life for that reason. It's not. I think everyone struggles with whatever job you are, you know, because it's nice to be able to go to work and share that example, but then you want to be present for your children. So, yeah.
What character from Rosie Frost would you play in the movie version?
Do you know what? I don't know. I have to think about it.
You've never gotten that question?
Well, I have. But the part I thought, oh yeah, I'd give myself that part. But now I'm thinking, oh, time's getting on a bit. You're too yeah. And so I want to do. I love playing the casting game. So yeah.
Okay.
There are some really good characters in that. Do you know when I was writing? I love the bad. I don't like saying baddies because I don't think anybody is bad. I think in every bit of bad there's a bit of good. I think real people, you know, we're three-dimensional. But when you get to behave badly, like through a character, and you're not going to get in trouble, it's quite good fun.
Yeah. Plus, it's just fun to hear the word baddies.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to end with this one. And I think this is a good one to end with. This is from Sarah. And she asks, and this could apply to your writing, it could also apply to your life. Have you ever felt stuck? And how did you get past it?
Yeah, I think we can all feel stuck. And I think that one of the worst things in life is indecision. You know, when you're just like, is it this, is it this? And sometimes I'm learning that, you know, because I'm quite impatient, I would say, to allow that feeling, just say, okay, I don't know way, and just to be in that moment. But then sometimes, you know, we have to show up anyway. It's those 4 rules, you know, have courage, just show up anyway, even if it's wrong. You know, 2, lean on, you know, united we stand. Number 3, don't make it be of service. Just, it's not about you. And 4, just give it a go, make your own rules. Just sometimes we just have to show up. I don't think there's a right way to do it. It's giving yourself the grace of mistakes and just like allowing it to wherever you are in life, I think.
Well, Geri, thank you so much for joining us here. And I think we're going to get to the next part here.
Yeah.